Hey all you cool cats and kittens, it's Uncle Nightshift again, and this is the last time I'm reporting with the ugliest tiger in the world, because yeah, tonight we're gonna finish it, and I don't know how to feel about it, but I guess I'm happy. So let's get right into it. So, guys, this final episode will be about those finishing touches and techniques like polished metal, grease stains, and water effects. Yeah, like actual water, but of course made with paint. And also some minor fixes that I have to make, so I guess we should start with those. The mud splashes at the back are not exactly what I have envisioned, and that's mainly because the running gear wasn't fully painted when I was making them. But hey, no big deal, because now I know exactly what needs to be done. I just need to use the same paints like before, but in a slightly different way. Those of you following this series know how stoked I've become about the pigment texture from VMS, and I immediately knew that this is the right medium for the effect I'm after. So, after mixing the dry mud color in the same ratio like in the previous videos, I added a large amount of texture until I had a reasonably thick mud paste. The method is incredibly simple, but first I had to mask the running gear with a piece of paper, and then I applied the mud mixture with the speckling method. And I just realized that I completely forgot to talk about the reason behind this, like, why do I need to rework this part? Well, after finishing the tracks, I was very happy with the gritty mud texture I achieved down there. And the mud right here, which is the result of the tracks throwing the mud against the hull, was lacking that texture. It was just too mushy, as if you took a water hose and tried to, water it down, but then you just gave up halfway. And yeah, that's how it looked to me. Also, you probably noticed that I didn't mask the rest of the hull to avoid any unwanted specks. And that's because I find the effect very easy to control. You just need to keep the brush close enough to the surface, and any unwanted mud is easily removed with a brush and some enamel thinner. Or with a pair of tweezers if there are some unrealistically large clumps present in the texture itself. Using a brush here would damage the texture, so this is a much more efficient approach. And then I repeated the same thing with the darker mud tone. Again, using the same color like before to keep the mud effects consistent, but compared to the mud that I applied on the tracks a week ago, this mixture is slightly thinner, because a thick mud paste is very hard to apply with the speckling technique. The only difference now is that I'm keeping the amount less intense, because I don't want to cover up the previous layer of dry mud. Having several mud tones layered on top of each other is a simple way to achieve interesting, and dare I say, authentic results. The only downside is that even when all of this dries, the texture will be very fragile, so it's better to avoid touching it. Okay, so the back is fixed and my stoke levels are through the roof, so let's not waste too much time adoring the results and focus our attention to another section, aka the wheels. I weathered them 2 weeks ago, but there are still a few final effects that I'd like to add at the very end. So let's start with a dark wash, which will simulate leaking grease and other tasty stuff. This is actually one of the techniques that's you know that phrase, easier said than done? Well, this is something similar, but it's more like easier done than imagined. Yeah, I mean, it's actually more difficult to come up with shapes and patterns that are random and, just natural looking. And then actually creating the effect is a piece of cake. But hey, the usual rule that works for me is to situate the leaks around wheel hubs, and don't apply them to every wheel, of course. For example, I like to focus them on those wheels which are less muddy, to give them some more visual detail. And yeah, I of course like to combine the effect with some speckling to make it look more gritty and random, yeah. Well, okay, so the next thing is wet effects fluid, or any type of enamel gloss varnish, because that's essentially what wet effects are. And this is a great way to add more texture to the effect. However, it's best to apply it into those places where most grease is concentrated, or in other words, where the effect is most opaque. And of course, it's no surprise that this effect can involve a lot of back and forth, or no, not exactly that, but adding more after you think you're done, but then you just look at it and you're like, not enough, I need to add more. Yeah, it happens to me all the time. In those situations, I often grab a bottle of light rust wash and use it in a very limited amount on some hubs. This doesn't replicate corrosion, but again, grease mixed with dust. I know, it's a kind of weird looking effect, but I've seen it a lot of times on desert tanks. I'm actually not sure if it's just a thing that happens in the desert, but to be honest, I don't care and I'm fine with that. So yeah, alright, so this concludes the entire lower portion of the tank. Of course, having some real-life references can be a huge help, like in this case I could have used some other tiger photos, but I didn't use any, so I technically made it all up. Yeah, and I mean, can we now admire the mud splashes again? The mud splashes are now giving us a good indication on how the rest of the tank should be weathered. So let's add some more mud effects to make those splashes less out of place. I started by adding more mud towards the lower edge of the side plates. This is of course the same loose ground color like I used before, but obviously without the extra pigment texture. I'll be adding more effects to these parts as we proceed further, but I'll demonstrate them on another sections of the tank. But you'll definitely notice them on the finished model. I also applied the loose ground on the upper surfaces. We already used it 2 weeks ago, but now I'm adding it in a more controlled manner to create more contrast between some sections. This effect can look pretty savage when it's just applied there, like, just sitting there in the open, but once you blend it, it suddenly becomes a part of the surface. Especially when you look at it as a whole, it's barely noticeable. But it serves as a good base for the upcoming effects, and it also helped me to form an idea on where to place them. So, using the dark wash again, I started adding some of those older grime stains. The easiest way to distinguish old and fresh grease is the texture. Fresh is glossy, and old is matte, because it already had some time to absorb some dust. That's actually another important thing in my opinion. Grimy stains are sticky, so they should naturally attract a lot of dirt, and as such they should be always surrounded by earth effects. That's exactly what I meant by using the blended mud as a base for further effects. Actually, I'm gonna add much more, but let's now focus on these for a while. So, just like with the mud, I find it best to start with an initial layer, which I always blend, with enamel thinner obviously. And it's because it is easier to create random shapes in 2 steps. First when you're applying the effect, and second when you're blending it. It just gives us better idea on how it should look in its final form. And it also gives us that nice deep layered effect. Which brings me to the second stage, again with the combination of these two. And by the way, the mixing ratio is about 50-50, and it's also the same procedure like on the wheels, but here we obviously have a completely different type of surface. So I applied this fresh grease layer without blending to get those nice sharp stains and well-defined blotches. This is gonna be one of the most visible effects on the finished model, so I always spend more time just looking at the model and thinking how to proceed. And yeah, sometimes things just don't go as planned. In fact, they almost never go as planned, but it's easy to fix any mistakes with thinner. And in this case I decided to blend the effect completely, because I'll add more texture with the upcoming effect. But again, I'll demonstrate it in other places, so make sure to check it out on the finished model at the end of the video. And the next effect is gonna be water. for this effect we need to mix these colors in this ratio. Well, it's just a rough estimate, but there needs to be a lot of enamel gloss and the result should be a semi-transparent muddy colored paint. The reason why I added a small amount of dark wash is to make the loose ground darker, so we'll be able to clearly distinguish the dry, so to say, loose ground, which we already have on the model, from the wet, so to say, version. I already talked about this technique in the final Rutscher video a few months ago, which was the first time I came up with this magic mixture. If you're a real OG and you've seen it and also remember what I said, then good on you, my friend, you're making me proud. And in case you haven't seen it, there's a link in the description and it should be on the screen as well. And no, I'm not trying to increase my views right now. I'm actually explaining there how I used to use these effects a lot back in the day, you know, when I was still using dry pigments. But then I had to stop, obviously, and it was just a coincidence when I tried mixing this glossy, murky paint when I could start using it again. Which actually, I gotta say, makes me happier than ever, because, like, here's the deal. All of those mud effects which I already have blended on the surface are nice and all, but they're just smooth. Like, you know, there's no real texture to them. But yeah, this effect is the perfect way for me to give the earth effects a gritty, textured look. Not only because the individual stains are clearly defined, but also because the mud suddenly has matte and glossy texture. And one of the best things is that it basically simulates just plain water. So we can create some pretty interesting shapes with it. And we can also use it a lot. Because, I mean, who knows? Maybe it's been raining, or the tank just went through a large puddle. Or it was just chilling next to a muddy country road and some Hans driving an Opel Blitz splashed it with muddy water. I mean, you get the point. But just like before, some ideas just don't work no matter how hard you try, so the only way is to just wipe them out of existence. Yeah, I know, it's very sad. And I was actually putting a lot of hope into that elongated stain, but what can I do? Anyway, I guess it's time for the lastest effect, which is polished metal. This was done with a pencil, and I like to add this effect on most edges where lots of chipping tends to appear, and I also like to fill in some of the larger chips with it, to make them look like actual metal. This is the final detail that's gonna be almost completely invisible, like you'll be seeing about 5% of the effect on the entire model under each angle, because it needs to reflect some light if you want to see it. And yeah, by the time I got to this stage I was slacking so hard that it's not even funny. Like, seriously, I was super chill because I had an entire day in front of me, but instead of spending, 1 hour to apply the graphite, I just kept watching YouTube videos and drinking coffee. It was like the next level procrastination. I was like, yeah, I'll just have a cup of coffee and watch a few videos and then I'll get to work. And by the time I finished my cup, I went to make another and then returned to watching YouTube. So yeah, in the end, I was more than happy to have this model finally done. And yeah, I guess it's officially done. Yeah, because there's just nothing left to add. And by nothing, I mean no antenna, no bucket hanging on the back, no figure, no diorama. I guess this is the point where I should make like a, 1 minute recap of the entire series, but ladies and gentlemen, let's be honest. I just want this model out of my sight. I mean, don't get me wrong, or you know what, hold on for a second. This cringe-inducing spinning shot is not making the model justice. And I made a lot of final pictures, so I'll present it to you using those. Okay, so yeah, don't get me wrong, I'm actually more than very happy with this model. First of all, I was finally able to build my first Tiger, and also it was one of the more complicated models, and probably the most complicated that I've shown you on this channel so far. Yeah, the weird camo is still weird, not gonna lie there, but I'm still glad that I went for it, and all of the weathering toned it down just as I expected, and yeah, I'm personally very happy with the outcome. And you can tell me your thoughts down in the comments. As for what's coming next, well, yeah, there's obviously definitely something coming next. And all I can say is that, look, I need to take a break after this model, so I'm gonna build something small, simple, and just make it one of those just for fun projects. After all, we're still stuck indoors, and I think it's a good opportunity to finish some of those models that I originally never intended to build. But I don't know if I'll start the next series the next week, or I'll post some other type of video. I mean, we'll see. Anyway, thank you for watching all the way to the end. Also a big thank you to my awesome patrons for making this weekly show possible. And as you already know, I'm offering a lot of rewards there, including exclusive HD photos like the ones you're seeing right now, but in full resolution so you can download them and zoom in all day long. But you can also get access to a lot of other content. I mean, right now we're at more than 700 patron-only photos, which is totally insane. I mean, I don't even know when did I manage to post that many photos there. So yeah, if you're interested, then make sure to give it a look. And I guess that's all I have for tonight. So thanks again everyone, I hope you'll have an awesome weekend. Also stay safe, and of course give the video a like if you liked it, or a dislike if you didn't like it, and I'll see you mates in the next one.